Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the life and career of Matthew Perry? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of Matthew Perry, then move to my analysis. Matthew Perry was born in Williamstown, Massachusetts on August 19, 1969. His father, John, was an American actor, and his mother, Suzanne, was a Canadian journalist and once worked as a press secretary to former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. Matthew's parents divorced before he was 1 year old. His mother married a broadcast journalist named Keith Morrison, who was best known for his work on Dateline NBC. Matthew was raised in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. At the age of 15, Matthew moved to Los Angeles in order to pursue a career in acting. He appeared in several high school stage productions and practiced improvisational comedy at a club in Los Angeles. He graduated from high school in 1987. Matthew originally intended to go to college, but he gave up his college dreams after being given a role on a TV series, which was eventually named Boys Will Be Boys. Matthew was featured in the 1988 movie A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. Over the next few years, he appeared in a number of TV series like Growing Pains, Beverly Hills 90210, and Home Free. In 1993, Matthew was working on a pilot titled LAX 2194. The show was about a baggage handler at Los Angeles Airport who helped aliens navigate the airport, like aliens from outer space. As Matthew was working on this pilot, the producers of the TV show Friends were holding auditions. At this time, the show was called 6 of 1. Initially, Matthew was unavailable to audition because of the pilot, but when the pilot about LAX was mercifully and appropriately canceled, he was allowed to audition for Friends. Matthew was cast as the character Chandler Bing. One of the reasons he was liked so much in the audition is because he emphasized the wrong word in the lines that he read. The show Friends featured 5 other main cast members: Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, and David Schwimmer. The TV series Friends would run for 10 seasons and become one of the most successful situation comedies in history. Matthew and his 5 co-stars were all propelled to incredible fame and obtained substantial wealth. During the first season, each main cast member earned $22,500 per episode. By season 5, they were earning $100,000 per episode, and for the last 2 seasons, each of the main cast members was earning $1 million per episode. The cast members continued to earn millions of dollars when the TV series ended because it went into syndication. Matthew worked as an actor on other projects during his time on Friends, and he continued working as an actor afterward. For example, he was featured in a number of movies like Fools Rush In, 3 to Tango, The Whole 9 Yards, and the sequel to that movie, The Whole 10 Yards. Matthew appeared in the TV series Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. In 2012, he was cast as the star of the series Go On, about a sportscaster who was mandated to receive psychotherapy. It was canceled after 1 season. In 2015, Matthew played Oscar Madison in a revival of the situation comedy The Odd Couple. It ran for 3 seasons. In 2021, Matthew appeared in the Friends reunion show on HBO Max. He and his co-stars were paid $2.5 million each for that appearance. I have a separate video on that reunion show. Matthew wrote a book titled Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, which is scheduled to be released on November 1, 2022. It is expected to be a very successful book. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in the life and career of Matthew Perry. Item number 1. The big terrible thing referenced in Matthew Perry's book is addiction. In various interviews, Matthew has talked about his struggles with addiction. He had his first drink at the age of 14 which led to frequent alcohol use. His difficulties with substances worsened in 1997 when he was involved in a jet ski accident. He was given the drug Vicodin to control pain. Within 18 months, he was taking 55 Vicodin pills a day and drinking alcohol excessively. Matthew indicated that something clicked in him when he first took Vicodin, and he has been chasing it the rest of his life. This description is highly consistent with what many substance users say about the first time they used the drug to which they would later become addicted. Some people can try all different types of drugs and not have any problems until one day they take a certain drug, and that one drug changes their entire outlook on the world. It sounds like Matthew had a specific vulnerability to narcotics. Item number 2, Matthew has made extensive efforts to recover from substance use. For example, he spent a good deal of time in treatment centers and sober living houses. He has been to rehab 15 times. He went to therapy for twice a week for 30 years. He said that he has attended 6,000 Alcohol Anonymous meetings and detoxed over 65 times. Matthew has spent about $9 million trying to get clean. Most people who overcome addiction never even go to therapy, much less spend millions of dollars to recover. According to Matthew, he has mostly been sober since 2001, except for 60 or 70 mishaps. There is a tendency for substance users to forgive minor relapses. Sometimes these relapses are called slips. However, most substance users who had anywhere near 60 or 70 slips would consider those to represent a true relapse. Item number 3, during his time on Friends, Matthew's weight fluctuated between 128 pounds and 225 pounds. He said that when he was drinking alcohol, he weighed more, and when he was using pills, he weighed less. Matthew claimed that he could not remember 3 years of the time that he was on the TV series Friends. Fans of the TV show noticed these weight changes and knew that something was going on. Matthew's colleagues on Friends also knew he was using substances. It's amazing that Matthew was so highly functional during his time on Friends. His general performance as an actor did not seem to suffer greatly because of his drug use. This exemplifies how some people can use excessive quantities of substances for years and continue to function at a high level. Item number 4, during one interview, Matthew talked about how he would obtain prescription medication. In addition to going to multiple physicians, which is a common behavior for substance users, Matthew used another tactic over a period of 5 years. He would go with his real estate agent to visit high-end properties, and he would stop by open houses. He was genuinely interested in purchasing some of them, but that's not why he was there. Once in the house, Matthew would simply go to the bathroom without telling anyone what he was doing. He was worried if he said something like, "Could I go to the bathroom?" everybody would know where he was. Once in the bathroom, Matthew would look through the medicine cabinet for prescription medications to steal. If he found a medication that was expired, he would steal quite a bit of it, believing that the owner would not notice it missing. If the prescription was current, he would be more cautious and only steal a few pills. Item number 5, Matthew had a number of romantic relationships with women throughout the years. Many of them were famous. Just to name a few: Julia Roberts, Neve Campbell, Lauren Graham, Rachel Dunn, and Lizzie Kaplan. Matthew said that in all but one instance, he is the one who initiated the breakup. He was worried that they were going to break up with him, and he didn't want to deal with that pain, so he made a preemptive strike. I imagine him breaking up with one of his lovers using the phrase, "Can this relationship be any more over?" Matthew has a number of regrets about his romantic life. Item number 6, sometimes people think of Matthew Perry's experience as another case of someone who was thrust into the limelight against their will and couldn't handle the pressure. I think that does happen to certain celebrities, but it seems unlikely in this case. Matthew Perry desperately wanted to be famous. He once said, quote, "There was steam coming out of my ears. I wanted to be famous so badly. You want the attention, you want the bucks, and you want the best seat in the restaurant. Matthew developed substance use problems after getting exactly what he dreamed of. Item number 7, Matthew paid a high price for his drug use and almost paid the ultimate price. In 2018, he had a massive colon failure. He described it as an explosion. He was in a coma for 2 weeks and only had a 2% chance of survival. He used a colostomy bag for quite some time and had 14 surgeries to repair the damage. Matthew suggested that he now avoids OxyContin because he knows if he uses it again, he will have to use a colostomy bag for the rest of his life. On another occasion, Matthew went to a rehab in Switzerland and was given propofol. He almost died for a second time after his heart stopped for 5 minutes. Propofol, of course, is the drug that was involved in the death of Michael Jackson. I have a separate video about Michael Jackson's death. Item number 8, Matthew Perry is fascinated with Batman. He purchased a 10,000 square foot penthouse in Los Angeles because it resembled the apartment Bruce Wayne had in the movie The Dark Knight. Matthew has said, quote, "I am Batman," unquote. He defended this assertion by pointing out a number of similarities between him and the character Batman. For example, they are both wealthy, both loners, they both save lives, and they both drive black cars. Matthew has a black 2021 Aston Martin Vantage V8 Roadster. Item number 9. Matthew Perry's life illustrates how anyone can be afflicted by chemical dependency. Matthew had everything that he could possibly want. He had fame, money, an active romantic life, Batman memorabilia. He was living his dream. Even still, he was willing to risk everything for one more type of pleasure. Such is the nature of substance use. Drugs do not exclusively target people who are down on their luck. Rather, they can target anyone. Furthermore, being wealthy can lead to a stronger addiction because access to drugs is not a problem and a larger decrease in functioning can occur before financial problems set in. Item number 10. What is a potential personality profile for Matthew Perry? This is just a theory, my opinion. Matthew Perry appears to be high in openness to experience. He is creative and thinks abstractly. He appears to have low to mid-range conscientiousness. There is some degree of impulsivity that's potentially there. His level of extroversion is high. He is sensation-seeking and outgoing. His agreeableness appears to be mid-range, maybe a little bit on the high side, and his level of neuroticism appears to be a little bit above average. For example, he has difficulty resisting temptation. Now moving to my final thoughts. Matthew Perry has framed his addiction as something that is beyond his control. He said that he has had bad luck. This way of thinking about addiction is often referred to as the disease model. This idea that chemical dependency is just like any other disease. A person doesn't choose to have it. They can react to it, like they can seek treatment, but they can't do anything to stop the onset or the progression on their own. Matthew suggested that he would give up all his money and fame not to have the disease of addiction. At the same time, Matthew has clearly limited his use of drugs based on consequences. For example, during his time on Friends, he never used drugs on the set. He did not want to let his colleagues down. And he will no longer take OxyContin due to concerns about permanent damage. Matthew's behavior highlights the mystery of addiction. Is it a disease or a choice? I've talked before about how researchers are split as far as the disease model. There are certain substance users whose behavior is best explained by this model, but there are others who clearly decided to use drugs. There's a sense that Matthew doesn't really fully understand why he used substances, and it's concerning that he has had so many relapses, yet he's talking about substance use as if he is an authority on the topic, like he has all the answers about substances. Some have argued that Matthew should have waited to gain more insight before discussing such a serious matter. But I think that something can be learned from his story right now. There is no guarantee that Matthew will have more insight in the future, his current story might contain all the insight he will ever have. His perspective can be used to warn others of the dangers of substance use, even if he hasn't quite figured out what happened to him. What are the lessons learned from Matthew's experiences? Substance use is a powerful adversary, regardless of its mechanism. Substances function in ways that people do not understand, and severe consequences can be a powerful motivator to stop using. Those are my thoughts on the life and career of Matthew Perry. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.